When the Supreme Court gave us the Citizens United decision, we knew that our democracy was about to be handed over to corporations. We were pretty sure of that. But what few people didn't understand was that it wasn't just politicians that would be bought. Corporate interests are also buying up our judiciary. Joining me now to explain that is David Haynes. David, the bankrolling for judges it's amazing that the media, and I think even worse, the general public, has no idea how serious this is. I mean, it's full tilt, isn't it?
People have no idea that their judges are really bought and paid for because they're not worried about, they may not have a pending case before court, but when it comes to the point that a corporation are trampling on their rights and they show up and they may wonder why they're not getting a fair shake from their judge, little do they know these judges have been bought and paid for through very large campaign contributions going back multiple cycles.
Okay, so what happens is you've got, in a particular, so there's about 38 states, I think, that they elect judges, and the Koch brother types can come in and they can get elected whoever they want to have elected, basically. But so what's ended up happening is while this is going on, people in the state think the presidential race is important. They think maybe even the senatorial race is important for Washington, D.C., but they don't seem to understand that what's happening in their backyard is far more important. I mean, that local judge has the right to create just a dynasty of ugly right there in their backyard.
That's correct. I mean, a huge percentage of the nation's judicial matters, of course, are being decided in the state courts. Over 90% of business matters, so small business people who are out there, other people that are being taken advantage of by large corporations, if they have the opportunity to seek redress, of course, it's going to be in the state courts. And so particularly in the off election year that we just had, where we had very low voter turnout, of course, in many states, we had some judicial elections in certain states like Pennsylvania and other states. As we begin to look towards the 2016 election and we have an analysis of the last cycle, who is actually giving in these cases for these elections? It's not individual families, it's large corporations. The vast majority they're under these euphemistic names. They're the right wing, they're the Koch brothers, big business, the chamber. They're the ones that are getting the word out for the judges that they want to see on the bench. And that, of course, is all for a reason.
Okay, and the reason is, for example, down in Florida, for example, if the Koch brothers are here in town, I mean, they're involved in virtually every state court race here in town. I say in town, in the state of Florida, and really all the way through the southeast. But they want offshore drilling, you see, and they want fracking. And they really don't care that our entire aquifer is already at risk because of climate change. We have saltwater intrusion already destroying our aquifer. But they want these things, so they're trying to elect judges who will do that for them. Now, we obviously see it on a federal level, but now we're seeing it on a state level. We're seeing county court judges getting money from the Koch brothers. I mean, why?
Right.
What is that? Explain to listeners why that matters.
Exactly. Issues like fracking, other environmental issues where the Koch brothers have ports in other states. North Carolina is one, Florida, a number of these other issues, because they want to have a friendly court because they know the matters that are going to affect their business, the billions of dollars in business and profit that they hope to achieve and reap from the natural resources of these various states are going to be heard in the state courts. And guess what? Are they going on air saying we want judges who support fracking? No, they're using other issues, wedge issues as it's referred to, and saying, well, this judge isn't tough enough on crime. And because that judge that they're targeting is one who they believe will not support their business interests. So they're not even being truthful with the voters in these individual states about why they're supporting these judges. They're creating organizations that you can't even tell really who's behind them without this deep analysis. And they're also creating these other issues to make it more attractive to voters for these candidates. So they're not even being honest with the electorate.
Okay, so let's put it. Here's the bigger story. They won in the federal system. They've packed the courts with so many conservative right-wing shills that it's almost impossible to move around in federal court. If you're a consumer, if you've been injured, if you've been defrauded, forget federal court for the most part. If a pharmaceutical company has killed 1,000 people with the bad pharmaceuticals, that pharmaceutical company is delighted with the appointments not only that Bush made, but that Obama have made. They're packed to the gill with conservatives in the federal system. Now, shift over to the state system. That's exactly what the Koch brothers have done. They've said, okay, we've won in the federal system. Now we're going to move down to the state system. And in the state system, it's real-time kinds of problems. If if a pharmaceutical kills some individual in Podunk, Florida, the Koch brothers and the Chamber of Commerce and the industry types know that they have appointed in that particular Podunk, Florida jurisdiction a podunk judge who is a shill. Most of the time, that shill has no background. Most of them have not really even practiced law. They have law degrees, but they come from the political hack team. That's where they come from. They move from being political hack to judge. Is that what you're seeing nationally?
It absolutely is. They're recruiting candidates, and I mean, look at the larger picture. Why is it that judges are running for office in the first place? I mean, it's somewhat demeaning that they're out there having to kind of do. If it's a politician who's running for a state legislative seat, you expect that they're going to have these sorts of campaigns. But here you have judges are wearing the robe, they're in the courtroom, supposed to be some dignity attached to the office, and also that this is a place where individual litigants can get a fair shake. You're going to go in and you're going to have a judge who's going to call balls and strikes. In the political arena with our state legislators and so forth, I think the public understands that these people are funded and special interests are playing a hand, unfortunately, in the political decisions. But in the judicial decisions under our separation of powers, this should be a place that individuals can go and they can get a fair shake. Instead, this is, as you said, they're moving from the federal system all the way down to state and local elections because they know this is going to make a difference. And the American public and the voting electorate is just not aware of really what's going on until it's going to be far too late for their family's case, the individual judicial issues that are going to affect them.
And the media, what's so disturbing about it, corporate media, the only time they focus on something like this has to do with maybe a particular political hack judge has been in office for 2 or 3 years, and now that judge has ruled that there is no such thing as gun control, or that political hack judge there in Podunk, Florida, has ruled that an abortion clinic has to close down. What they really don't understand is that the Koch brothers and that the Chamber of Commerce could not care less about how that judge rules on something like abortion or gun control. What they want their political hack plant to do is rule for them on the money issues, like fracking or like offshore drilling or like the unbridled use of chemicals or a contamination of water supplies. That's what they want that political hack to rule with.
That's right. I mean, it's worth spending the money, and the judge is going to maybe 95, 98% of the rest of their docket deals with other things. But when that case does come up and individuals are trying to, seek judicial redress for clean water, for not having fracking, and so that their aquifer is spoiled, spoliation, and their family may be poisoned by environmental chemicals being dumped into the watershed and so forth, then there it is. There's the payoff for the big corporation, all the work that they've done, the money that they spent. By the way, these are elections that can be gotten on the cheap. I mean, there's not a lot of spending. This is a lot of money that's being put in there, but the percentage that these corporations are spending is huge. You have like 10 donors who basically are controlling these elections because individuals are not contributing to these elections. They don't have them on the radar, but you can be assured that the Fortune 100 companies do.
Yeah, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce has one meeting, and they say, hey, Billy Bob has an election down in Podunk, Florida. Billy Bob is really good for us because he gives us everything we want. He doesn't mind pollution. He doesn't mind the fact that we're killing each other needlessly with guns. He doesn't care about gender rights or women's rights. We need Billy Bob, and we see millions go into Billy Bob's meaningless election other than that. All right, thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it.